we've got rid of this start here. So like we've done, we've moved the start from here to this position. So this is just now a nice flat surface for us to play with the neckline. If you did have a dart up here, you would temporarily move it to a different position while you're looking at the neckline. But none of these have to do that. So if you are thinking, first of all, these patterns are made to be really high neck. These blocks are a high neck. So usually you're going to drop the neckline a little bit just to have it as a more wearable garment. So I think everyone will at least have to. Think about my pencils before I do this. We'll have to move it down. So it's usually about 1 centimetre or 1.5 centimetres. Get a better. Centimetre or 1.5 centimetres is going to make it a little bit more wearable. So if I say I move the neck point there, 1.5 centimetres at that shoulder point there. Now remember, whatever you're doing to your fronts, they're going to fit together, so you do the same to your back. So if you drop on that neck point from 1.5 centimetres, you're going to go to your back piece and move that down 1.5 centimetres too. So for example on there, you would move that back piece down too. Okay, and then on the back, I can usually use, sometimes I mark this down a little bit less. So if I've marked 1.5 there, I'll just go 1 at that back point there. And then you'll see that you tend to keep the shape of that back neckline better if you do that. So if we drop down 1 there and 1.5 there, when we go and use our grader to kind of copy that shape, it just tends to look a bit nicer. Like that. If you can fully see there, but it's just more of a flatter shape. And then at the neckline, I'm going to decide how low I want my neck to be. So if you think that's going to be just near your collarbones there, as it is at the moment, so you can take your tape measure and measure down how low your neckline is going to be. So if I want a V neckline, for example, I might want it down to about, I don't know, 15, something like that. I can mark that here. And then from this point to that point, I can draw a straight line like that, but I always think that it's a little bit more flattering to do it slightly curved. But this is a style choice really, but I always think it fits, molds the body better if it's slightly curved. Just looks a little bit more natural. If you were just keeping it to a rounded neck, you would decide how low you wanted it, so just 3 centimetres down. And then always make sure that we're doing a 90-degree angle for at least a couple of millimetres there. So I always draw that first, and then get your grader, and it's trial and error and going by eye and guesstimating, but then you can draw your neckline in. Okay. There's one more thing to note. If you want to stop your neckline from gaping, you can add a little dart here. So I'm just going to show you that now. So say this neckline here, it's come down quite low. It's not very low, just a little bit. So I'm going to draw a line from the bust point to about would you say, just over halfway down that neckline. I'm going to cut my neckline first. I'm going to go for the V. And then what I do is I cut, oh actually before I do that, I'm going to mark the amount I'm taking off. So I'm essentially adding a little dart into this neckline that's going to pinch it in a little bit but stop it gaping. So the amount varies. It's usually about 0.5. So kind of hard to explain, but this bodice here is called a contour bodice. You can Google it and have a look. You can make your own. Step-by-step instructions on how to make your own online, but it shows you all the different areas where you could gape. So this one here is the neckline gape. So depends on how far down this line my neckline goes. It changes the amount of my darts. Can you kind of see that there? So if it's quite a high neckline, it'd be teeny tiny and you probably wouldn't bother. If it's quite a low neckline, we're gonna dart it a little bit more. So this kind of thing, you could probably do it in fitting. If you were doing a 12, you'll find that you're just gonna pinch it slightly there. This is just taking the step before you bother having to do that with your 12. So, like I say, there's different amounts the lower you go, but as a general rule, I'd say about 0.5 is how big you want to make it. So I'm going to measure 0.5 there. About there. So just a teeny tiny sliver. I'm going to cut up my bust out there. Right up until the point there, so not the point that we've drawn there, up to that point there. And then you're going to fold that away. This is just a tiny. The lower you go, the bigger it gets, but about 0.5 is going to be fine. So you see, by doing that, I've opened up my bust dart a little tiny bit. So we'll just have to stick another little bit of piece of paper behind that.
There you go.
It should only be a tiny bit, so we should just be able to get away with not having to refold everything and adding a new dart cap. It should be okay.
It's not really
Okay, so I've widened my bust dart. I've curved that slightly, and then obviously I'm all off kilter there, so I just need to go back in and redraw that line until it's nicer, and I'll cut that away. So that's just going to cling to the shape of my body a bit more now and help with eliminating gape. Great.
Yeah.
Is that okay? So yeah, that's the next step, is